SMU was at the top of the college football world. That was until the program was crushed by the death penalty and watched their conference fall apart. Since the 90s, they have fought to try to get back to a power conference, being overlooked by the Big 12 over and over again, even watching crosstown rival TCU get an invite over them. Finally, they were able to rejoin a power conference joining the ACC this season, and they could make some noise this year. This is the revival of SMU football. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know which team you are most excited to watch this season in the comment section below. It's been a long road back for SMU after the NCAA put the hammer down on them in the 80s, giving them the famous death penalty. The program would fall apart following the ruling as alumni began to shun the program out of embarrassment, and when the Southwest Conference fell apart, they were left on the outside looking in at the Big 12. Instead, they were forced to join the WAC Conference, joining fellow Texas schools, TCU and Rice, and falling behind the likes of Texas, Texas A&M, and the other Texas schools that joined the Big 12. They went from being a member in one of the top college football conferences to a lower tier conference, from the big boys table to the kids table. It was a fall from grace for a school that had once been competing for national titles. But that success caused their downfall, as greed to stay at the top would crush the program as they racked up NCAA violations that led to the decision by the NCAA to give them the death penalty. From 1987 to 2007, SMU would watch 4 coaches walk through the door, and only one winning season occurred during the 20-year period. That lone winning season came under Mike Kavan in 1997 when they went 6-5. During that 20-year period, the program would go 58, 153, and 3 for an average record of about 3-8. SMU would join the Conference USA in 2005, and in 2008, SMU brought in June Jones, who would turn the University of Hawaii football program into a consistent winner, leading them to 2 WAC conference championships and a Sugar Bowl appearance. Make sure to check out my video on the 2007 Hawaii team in the comment section below. Jones was known as a program builder and looked to help turn the Mustangs program around. Although they would go 1-11 in his first season, SMU would have their first winning season in 12 years in 2009, when they finished the year 7-5 and went to their first bowl game since 1984, before the death penalty, and beat Nevada 45-10 in the Hawaii Bowl. SMU would go 7-7 the following season, making it back to a bowl game and participating in the Conference USA title game, losing both games. They would then win back-to-back bowl games, going 8-5 and 7-6 in 2011 and 2012 respectively. In 2013, SMU would join the American and had their first losing season since 2008, going 5-7, snapping their 4-year bowl streak. After an 0-2 start in 2014, Jones would step down as head coach, citing personal reasons after SMU lost those 2 games by a combined score of 88-6. It would start the season 0-11 before beating UConn in the season finale. SMU would replace Jones with Clemson offense coordinator Chad Morris, who would go 2-10 his first season and 5-7 in his second season, until leading the Mustangs to bowl eligibility in 2017, going 7-5 before leaving to take the Arkansas job. Sonny Dykes would replace Morris at SMU after serving as an offensive analyst for TCU in 2017, which came after stints at Louisiana Tech and Cal as head coach. Dykes would coach the Mustangs in their first Go Bowl loss before going 5-7 in 2018. 2019, though, would be a magical year for the program, as they would go 10-3, losing in the Boca Raton Bowl. It was their first double-digit winning season since 1984 under head coach Bobby Collins. SMU seemed like they were back to being a conference title contender, and seemed like they had finally recovered from the death penalty. Dykes would lead the Mustangs to a 7-3 record in 2020 and an 8-4 record in 2021, earning bowl bids to the Frisco Bowl and the Fenway Bowl, but both games would be canceled due to COVID. Following the 2021 season, Dykes would leave SMU to take the head coaching job at crosstown rival TCU, where he proceeded to lead them to the national title game. The man chosen to replace Dykes would be former offense coordinator Rhett Lashley. After serving as a high school quarterback coach and grad assistant at both Arkansas, where he had previously played quarterback, and Auburn when they made it to the national title game in 2010, Lashley would be named the offense coordinator and quarterback coach at Samford, followed by Arkansas State, before returning to Auburn, serving as their offense coordinator and quarterback coach during their national title game appearance in 2013. He then held the same role at UConn in 2017. SMU from 2018 to 2019, and Miami from 2020 to 2021 before returning to SMU as head coach. Lashley would lead SMU to a 7-6 record in 2022, led by quarterback Tanner Mordecai, but following the season, Mordecai would transfer to Wisconsin. In 2023, SMU won their first conference title since 1984 and their first American Conference title in school history, going 11-3, beating Tulane 26-14 in the conference title game. They also finished in the final AP Top 25 rankings for the first time since 1984 as well. It marked a magical end to their time in the American Athletic Conference, as heading into this year, they joined the ACC Conference. The move to the ACC is a big move for the school as they return to a power conference. It also comes after years of rejection by the Big 12. Following Texas A&M's departure in 2011 to the SEC, SMU made it known that they wanted to join the Big 12 to be the Aggies' replacement. The Big 12 had no interest, instead choosing to add crosstown rival TCU as well as West Virginia instead. While SMU struggled to fill the stands over the past decade, their continued on-the-field success under 4 different head coaches had the athletic department keeping their aspirations high as they continued to dream of a seat at a Power 5 table. When conference realignment was set off by Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, which led to USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington joining the Big 10, and left the Big 12 reeling as the ACC and Pac-12 circled the conference. Instead, the Big 12 would go on the offensive, bringing in Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston from the American Conference, once again overlooking SMU, and added BYU as well, or going after Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State, when Oregon and Washington jumped to the Big 10. SMU was once again blown off by the Big 12, and it looked like they were going to be stuck in the American for the foreseeable future. That was until they decided to go on the offensive, knowing the ACC was looking to expand. They decided to make a call and make a deal with the ACC, a deal the conference couldn't resist. They joined the conference without taking any money from the league's television deal for up to 9 years, according to the sources. Athletic Director Rick Hart told the press, "I'm going to leave some mystery around all that. I don't think it's as simple as people want to make it out to be. You can't forego something you don't have. We're not going to take a step back resource-wise, even from a conference perspective. So this is all positives. We've got an underdog mentality. We've got a chip on our shoulder. We've had to do more with less for a long time." Cal and Stanford, joining along with SMU, will each receive a 30% share of ACC payouts. The 3 schools with holdings will create an annual allotment revenue between $50 and $60 million. There's also money to be made based off of winning, with the money being set aside, and SMU believes they could win in the ACC. SMU is rich with a strong alumni base and is a school known for producing power brokers of business. They have billionaires and oil tycoons who all donate back to the school. This is actually why the school got in trouble in the 80s. While fundraising was a problem in the years after the death penalty, time must heal all wounds. In the week after the ACC announced last September 1st that SMU was joining the ACC, they raised $100 million to help fund the transition. David Miller, billionaire founder of NCAP Investment, an oil and gas private equity firm, told Tribe Live, "We don't want to just be competitive. We want to be successful and compete for championships. And that's going to require further investment. 4 or 5 years down the road, it's a given that we'll have another substantial campaign to support our competitiveness in the ACC. And who knows what the landscape will look like in 4 or 5 years." SMU's Boulevard Collective is one of the most generous NIL programs in the country, reportedly paying all football and men's basketball athletes $36,000 a year, according to On3. They also are in the process of a $300 million investment in new athletic facilities, including a $100 million expansion to Gerald J. Ford Stadium. They already function like a Power 5 school. Miller went on to tell ESPN back in 2023, "I don't think it would be a stretch to say that there are some people out there that weren't excited about the notion that SMU was going to be uplifted back to the Power 5 status. Think about what it's going to do for our recruiting. We already recruit extremely well. The only thing that anybody could ever use against us in recruiting battles is the fact that we were not Power 5. Hinting at a few Texas universities. As a Power 5 school, SMU is scary, and rather than just sitting back and letting the conference choose their path, they decided to forge their own path." Heading into the 2024 season, there are high expectations for SMU as they make their debut in the ACC. Although they are coming off their first conference title win since 1984, Rhett Lashley believes they are just getting started, saying, "We have a new challenge in front of us, and we haven't done anything. In a good way, yeah, it feels different, but not like everybody's kind of tight. We're going to find out where we stand. We don't know. I like our guys, and I'm excited to watch them get to compete with this schedule." A lot of the team's success will rely on how well junior quarterback Preston Stone plays. Stone, a former 4-star recruit who had offers from the likes of Alabama, LSU, Notre Dame, Texas, and Texas A&M, chose to commit to SMU out of high school. Stone grew up an SMU fan as it was where his dad went to school. The Dallas native threw for 3,197 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions last year, although he only completed 59.9% of his passes. He hopes to bring SMU back to their glory days before the death penalty crushed the program in the 80s, explaining, "Obviously, I didn't live through the glory days, but I've known about Eric Dickerson, Craig James, Lance McElhenney days since I was a little kid. It's really cool how we're making our way back to that." Stone had his season cut short during the regular season finale when he broke his leg, missing the AAC title game and their bowl game against Boston College. They also returned Jalen Knighton, who was the leading rusher for the team last year after transferring in from Miami. They add Miami transfer Brashard Smith, who will join him in the backfield. They also return wide receiver Jordan Hudson and tight end RJ Maryland, who headlined 4 of the top 5 receivers from last year who returned this year. On defense, they brought in Elijah Roberts via the transfer portal heading into last season, and he finished the year with 12 tackles for a loss and 10 sacks. We also have a partner in crime in Mike Lockhart, who comes in via Georgia Tech and West Virginia. They also look to have a strong safety combo. The biggest question for SMU is how their offensive and defensive lines adjust from the transition from the American to the ACC, where they will be playing bigger teams. SMU came into the college football season with an over-under win total of 8.5 and opened up the season in week 0 against Nevada. Unfortunately, because of my work schedule and travel schedule, this video was recorded and edited before that game. They then host Houston Christian during their home opener, followed by the Big 12's BYU. They then have their bye week before a tough 3-game stretch that sees them host TCU and Florida State, before traveling on the road against Louisville before their second bye week. They then travel to Stanford before heading back across the country to play Duke, then returning home for games against Pittsburgh and Boston College. Their final road game of the season sees them travel to Virginia before ending the season at home against Cal. SMU gets a break by not having to play Clemson, Virginia Tech, Miami, NC State, and North Carolina, only having to play 2 of the top 8 teams in the conference, hosting one and going on the road against the other. 4 of their conference matchups are teams projected to finish at the bottom of the conference as well. Bill Steele projects them to finish 4th in the conference, and an 11-1 season could be a possibility, though I don't see it being truly realistic. I could see them going 9-3 though. SMU has all the tools to turn into an ACC power down the line, and could make TCU as well as the other Texas schools begin to sweat, especially if they start throwing money around like they did in the 70s and 80s to land guys like Eric Dickerson. Plus, now that they are a power school, retaining their coaches could be more feasible. What do you think? How well does SMU do in their first year as a member of the ACC? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.